Hey everyone, happy Friday. I know it is a holiday in the States today. I'm in Canada, so I'm working, hanging out, and thought we'd do a little, probably very brief automation happy hour today. I'm still trying to figure out how to load up my chat module here, but drop a note in the chat if you are around and where you are watching from. Today, I'm trying to do some last minute preparation for this stream, actually. Just test something real quick. Today I thought we could actually look a little bit at the work that has been done on Appium 2.0. Appium 2.0 is in its very first beta. And I'm actually right now trying to publish another beta of Appium 2.0 because I ran into an issue when I was trying to install it from the beta. So I'm going to do that so that if you are following along either right now or later when watching this video, hopefully it will work. So I'm actually publishing an Appium beta right now. This is the command that I used to do that, npm publish. What else to talk about while that is happening? I guess that didn't take too long. We could talk about what Appium 2.0 is. I've got a talk online somewhere about what Appium 2.0 is. I guess I could have had that loaded up here in the browser, but if you search for JLips webinar Appium 2.0, you'll probably find it. Oh yeah. Either of these videos would be good. Let me zoom in here. If you want to get the scoop on what Appium 2.0 will be about from kind of a feature perspective. It's not really a feature release. It's more of a way of rethinking what Appium is. So anyway, this is a webinar I did. Automate Everything Appium 2.0 and the new drivers. And then this is a podcast I did with Joe Colantonio on Appium 2.0 as well. So that's some stuff you can check out. But briefly, there are just two major parts of Appium 2.0. One is that we are going to make it so that Appium doesn't come with a bunch of drivers by default. And that's because Appium now has a ton of drivers, and most people don't need to use all of them. And we want there to be even more drivers, but it just seems wrong for when you install Appium to get a bundle of so many drivers with all their dependencies and so on. So we're kind of making all of the drivers optional. So basically you start out by installing Appium and you have no drivers. So let me just start giving a demo of this. I need to install Appium 2.0. I want to install the new beta, so I'm going to run npm install -g appium at 2.0.0 beta.1. This is the version that I just published. The second beta, so beta.1. I'm using npm to install it. Because we don't include all of the drivers by default in Appium anymore, it's actually a little bit faster to install Appium than it was before. So the idea is that you install Appium, and Appium itself has an interface now for installing and managing drivers, which is pretty fun. The other big part of Appium 2.0 will be the introduction of plugins that anybody can create, anybody can host, anybody can download, that affect the way that the Appium server runs. So we have some ideas about the way plugins might be used, but we're looking forward to the community showing us lots of ways that we haven't thought about. But basically, plugins will let any developers out there write custom hooks for Appium commands or the Appium server as a whole. So, one example of what a plugin could be would be the Test AI plugin that I wrote for the existing Appium server, but it required custom development of the Appium server itself. And with this plugin model, you wouldn't have to modify the Appium server. You could just write a little command handler that would listen for the find element command, and when that request comes in, take a look at the payload and then see what the user is asking for, and then you could send that request off to a different way of finding the element. So we could send it off to this, machine learning model instead of off to the normal Appium server. That's an example of a plugin. I think that there are hundreds and hundreds more, and hoping that a kind of ecosystem can develop from all of these. So I just installed Appium 2.0.0-beta.1. So let's run that. Hopefully if I just run Appium, as usual, that still works. Okay. So, yeah, we're running Appium 2.0.0-beta.1. And the other thing that we now see when we start up is a list of available drivers. Because drivers aren't available by default, it will show you any that you have installed. And because I've been doing development on Appium 2.0, my Appium directory has some drivers in it. So I'm actually just going to quit this, and I'm going to blow away my Appium home directory. So with Appium 2.0, all of the drivers get installed in a special place called the Appium home directory, and there's a default place on your system that it puts it, or you can specify what you want it to be. So just so we start with a clean slate, I'm going to rm/rf my Appium home directory. This takes a while because there's actually a bunch of drivers installed in there. Also, whenever I'm streaming and recording video, computer takes longer to do things. Okay, so now if I run Appium, again, we should see that there are no available drivers. Yep, so we get this message, no drivers have been installed. Use the Appium driver command to install the ones you want to use. Okay, let's try that. What does this command do? Appium driver. Okay, it says that we don't have enough arguments for this command, and we have these different options. Maybe I can run it with help. That's more like it. So I can run Appium driver, and then I can type list, which lists available and installed drivers. I can install a driver, I can uninstall a driver, or I can update a driver. So let's first just list all my current available drivers. Okay, there are all the available drivers, but you can see that none of them are actually installed yet. So the first thing we want to do is install a driver. So looks like we could install the UI Automator 2 driver. So I'm going to type Appium driver install UI Automator 2. And now Appium knows about the UI Automator 2 driver because that's one of these official drivers that have been listed. You can install drivers from anywhere. They don't have to be in this list for you to install them, but these are the ones that the Appium team has decided, are official enough that we can list them. So these ones we can just install by name. So I said Appium driver install UI Automator 2. And so Appium tells me that it's installing this using npm, and it's telling me the npm package that it's installing to make this driver work. So Appium-UI Automator 2-driver. So this will take a moment or so to install, but once it is, then we should have the driver available to use. See that we have Gopi online from the UK, London, I believe. Nice to see you back. It's late. It's like 11 o'clock, I think, or 10 o'clock. I forget. In London right now. Doing live demos involving npm install, not the best idea. It takes a long, long time. Here we go. Okay, so we can see that the driver UI Automator 2 was successfully installed. We get the current version of it. And then we get some really important information about the driver. The automation name is the automation name capability that we need to use with Appium in order to actually target this driver. So now that drivers aren't included by default, you have to use an automation name with Appium 2. This is because we need to know exactly which driver you're trying to automate. So the drivers tell Appium which automation names they can support. And then also drivers support one or more platforms. So, you know, when you're looking for an Android automation platform, you have to pick from drivers that actually say they support Android in their platform name. So if I do Appium driver list again, we can see that now UI Automator 2 is marked as installed, and it gives us the version. If we had, say, installed this like weeks and weeks ago, and there was, you know, some updates that have been made to the UI Automator 2 driver, we could run Appium driver list with -- updates, and any driver that we have installed, we would look for an update for it. But this one's already up to date. We just installed it, so there's nothing really to do there. We can also only list the installed drivers if we just care about seeing what's installed. By the way, all of these commands actually have the ability to give you just raw JSON output rather than nicely printed colored text, because we understand that people might be using this in a CI environment, want to operate on the result in some way or another. So here's a bunch of information about the installed driver. Once you have a driver installed, you know, now you can run Appium. And there we go. We got our available driver. So at this point, Appium is behaving just like it did before, except we now can use this UI Automator 2 driver as long as we set the automation name to UI Automator 2, which is what we've been doing in all of our live streams. Okay, so let's look at some of the other driver functionality. I could call Appium driver uninstall UI Automator 2 if I want to get rid of that driver. So that's uninstalled. If I list again, we should see it gone. Right? Now let's try and install a driver from a different location. So you'll notice that in this list, there's nothing that's called fake driver. That's because fake driver is not an actual Appium driver. It doesn't exist as an official Appium driver, but there is something called Appium fake driver. It lives on GitHub, and it's basically an Appium compatible driver that just doesn't really do anything. We use it in Appium for our end-to-end tests, so it's kind of useful. It just basically runs in-memory commands on a fake app defined by a fake XML document. It's pretty clever, but it doesn't really do anything. But it's a nice small driver that we could install if we wanted. So how would we get this driver in Appium 2.0? It's not one of the official drivers, but it is up here on GitHub. And if we look at its package.json, it has an Appium section in it, which makes it Appium 2.0 compatible. It tells Appium what the name of this driver is, what the automation name should be used with it, and so on. So what we can do is we can say Appium driver install, and then we can tell Appium where we want to install from. So I'm going to say, in this case, we want the source to be npm, because not only is this on GitHub, but it's actually an npm package called appium-fake-driver. So this will be the quickest way to install this. It's just installing it straight from npm. And then I just give it the npm package name. So I can install fake driver like this. I can even install it at a particular version if I want. So I have full control over the versions that I use. And this is one of the big benefits of Appium 2.0's model, is that I can have different versions of different drivers. Currently, if you install a version of Appium, you have a fixed version of all the drivers. You can't upgrade one driver without upgrading all of the other drivers. And drivers might, be operating at quite different development paces. An update from one driver might just be a patch update, a bug fix. An update from another driver might be a major update with breaking changes. So, we find that people often try not to upgrade Appium because, there's a change in, the XCUI test driver that they don't want to bring in. Well, with Appium 2.0, they can keep updating all the other drivers and keep updating Appium itself while keeping the XCUI test driver version pegged to a lower one. So I'm actually installing an older version of Appium fake driver because I want to show how the update mechanism can work. Well, while we're waiting, tell me if you have any plans this weekend. Here we go. Okay, so we have this driver installed. We can list and see it here. And now, because we have installed it with npm, even though it wasn't an official Appium driver, we can list any available updates, and Appium will check to see if there are any updates available for the fake driver. And there should be, because I installed what I believe to be an older version. Okay, so this is a really good example here. We have an update available to 0.10.0, but we also have an update available to 1.0.0, which we've marked as potentially unsafe because it has a different major version number. So if I wanted to, I could run Appium driver update, and I could just type in the name of the driver. So in this case, it's called fake driver. So that's the name. We can see the name right here. And because we have an update available, it will go ahead and update it for us. So it's checking to see if this driver actually needs an update. Okay, and it is. And notice that it's installing using npm this version 0.10.0. So that's this version here. It's not actually the most recent version, but Appium doesn't want to upgrade you to a version which potentially has breaking changes. So it will only automatically update to the highest minor version. So here's our report that we updated from 0.9 to 0.10. Now let's try and update again, because there is this 1.0 update. Let's say I really know that I want that. Let's see what Appium does in this case. So it says that we failed to update because there's only a major revision update that's available, which could include breaking changes. So it says if we want to apply this update, rerun with --unsafe. So we can do that. And that tells Appium that we're opting into a driver that has a new major version, because it's just something that you want to check out. We always would want to go to the changelog and make sure that the way we're using this driver isn't going to all of a sudden break just by updating this using this command. But we can do this now. I noticed that because we ran with the unsafe flag, it is going ahead and finding the 1.0 update. Awesome. There we go. So now if we run list again, there it is. We have the new version installed. So this is basically the idea behind Appium's driver management. So you can install whichever drivers you want. At any time, you can run Appium driver update, and you can actually, I think if you run Appium driver update all, it will just update all the drivers for you. So rather than, oh, maybe it's not all. I think it's called installed. Yeah, Appium driver update installed. Just run this periodically, and all your drivers will get up to date. But you won't opt into any breaking changes unless you specify that specifically. So the other big part of Appium 2.0, like I talked about, is plugins. That's still under very early development, so nothing really to show there yet. But really excited about this this new model and being able to keep driver management much more sane in the future. So that's really all I wanted to show today. The way we actually use Appium so far hasn't changed at all, other than that we need an automation name capability. But all of my live streams have actually been using Appium 2.0. It's just I haven't advertised that fact. Well, I have talked about it, but I haven't given a demo of all of these driver management features. I guess I should say there are different ways we can install beyond NPM. We can also install from GitHub. We can also install from a local directory. So you could have just purely in-house drivers that you use that you don't put up online anywhere else, that you just have for your own company's devices or operating systems that you want to automate. Really trying to make Appium just a platform, a framework, an ecosystem that everyone can build on to create automation drivers for everything. So that's it. Gonna shut things down. It's been about half an hour. Hopefully you enjoyed this little tour of what we've got so far on Appium 2.0. Don't be afraid to reach out to me on Twitter or somewhere else. Let me know your thoughts, if there's anything else you would like to see in Appium 2.0. All right, be back next week or some other time soon for some more actual app automation. You can install this Appium beta yourself just like I did. npm install-g Appium at 2.0.0-beta.1. It might also work to just do Appium at beta. I don't know if you'll get the 2.0 beta or a different beta, but it might also work. All right. Peace, everybody. Good weekend.